District Attorney Sandra Doorley and Sheriff Todd Baxter. My name is Christopher Chichester. I'm at what's called the study room or quiet room at the Rochester Public Library. There's demanding information from you, and you will refuse to comply because you're above the law. It's a cliche. It's a cliche that 30 years ago, Hollywood made a film called Above the Law starring Steven Seagal. I love that film. And it's about a psychopath cop. Hollywood will romanticize psychopath cops, where the audience doesn't conclude that the character played in this film by Steven Seagal is a psychopath cop, but he certainly is. And you, Todd Baxter, are a psychopath cop, and you don't know it. Neither do your employees, and neither do people in Monroe County. So, Sheriff Baxter, I had this link to a website called Police Magazine. It's in my hand on my phone. I'm going to show you. And this is from September 26, 2022. And the headline is New York Sheriff's to Race at Watkins Glen in Sheriff Showdown 2. Sheriff Showdown 2. You were at Sheriff Showdown 1. If you're in a race car at Watkins Glen, you're not performing the duties and responsibilities of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and you go there by yourself. Did you take $131,000 Corey Brown and other employees in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? How much did this trip cost when you went to in 2021? I believe you went to in 2021. Because you got your thumbs up here in this photograph. This is September 26, 2022. I'm going to show you this picture. Now, Sheriff Baxter, in a previous YouTube, I repeatedly said to you, this is why you're corrupt. I cite your behavior, your decisions, your language, and I say this is why you're corrupt. So, before I show you this photograph, this is why you're corrupt, Sheriff Baxter. This is you at Watkins Glen International Speedway. There you are giving a thumbs up. Now I'm going to read some of this. I don't think I'll read the whole thing because I have a number of documents I need to show and get through. And if you think I'm talking to you, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, Paul C. Metzler, James Young Jr., Pat Fitak, or Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, you're delusional. Because every time I'm on here talking to the employees of the United States Department of Justice, United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, Trini E. Ross, and Governor Kathy Hochul. But there you are, you party-switching buffoon and stooge with your thumbs up there in that race car. And the caption says, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter takes a few laps with a driving instructor at Watkins Glen International. I love car racing. But car racing should be done by professional race car drivers. And if it's to be done by public employees, it should be done by public employees on private time. We're not expending taxpayer dollars. So, good spirit says here, the first graph, the lead, good spirited rivalry among sheriffs in New York will soon take place at a racetrack. 27 sheriffs from across the state will test their skills at Watkins Glen International, not just for bragging rights, but more importantly, to raise funds for summer camp. Sheriff Showdown 2, set for October 13th, is a fundraiser to help send children ages 9 to 12 to Sheriff's Summer Camp operated at the New York Sheriff's Institute. It says the original Sheriff's Showdown spun off from a mounted competition between Livingston County and Monroe County Sheriff's Department. I was in Livingston County Jail, Sheriff Todd Baxter, and I'll never forget the name Thomas J. Doherty because I would see the pamphlets with his name on it, and the guide for how inmates should comport themselves was written by Thomas J. Doherty and placed in his cell, and I would see this. And I'd go through it and look at the rules for the inmates, and I would laugh. I mean, what they tell you can't do in jail is ridiculous. And when I see this name here, Thomas J. Doherty, I think about his little rules and guidelines for how you should behave in jail. And then this is you, Todd, about being in a race car at Watkins Glen. This is your quote. Again, where I believe you lie, because you're a liar. You lie about anything. Quote, we all trained for several months and did the mounted competition. It's an obstacle course that you take a horse through, basically. What the hell are you talking about? First of all, this is where I think the lie is. We all trained for several months. For racing a car on a track, you're training for several months. And then, again, with your incoherence, such as your interview with the Democratic Chronicle 2 years ago, where one quote from you after another is total incoherence. I'm just astonished that you're in office, where you say It's an obstacle course that you take a horse through, basically. What the hell are you talking about? Again, I'm not just saying that to ridicule you. When you could say, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? And you really have some idea. I really don't know what you're talking about. And over when I hear you speak, the language that exits your mouth, I'm thinking, I don't get it. Where's he coming from? Is he on Mars? This is where you're on Mars. It's an obstacle course that you take a horse through, basically. And then this is you again with the, as you're in Animal House. I mean, did you go here with Bluto, Otter, and Boone? I'd like to know. This is your quote here. Doherty, who hosted the event, claimed that first trophy. This is your quote, Sheriff Todd Baxter. Quote, Sheriff Doherty's claim to fame is he never rode a horse before in his life. And of course, I called the BS flag on that one. I'm like, that can't possibly be true. He glided right through competition. He was so good at it. I really am hard-pressed sometimes to come up with words for how you communicate and what you say, because I really don't get that at all. And I love this photograph here of you. Since your Animal House, I'm really trying not to laugh. I hope that your Monroe County Sheriff Office employees, when I show this photograph of you, the ones that can think independently will laugh at you the next time they see you or think about you, because this is you on a horse. And the caption says, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter and Livingston County Sheriff Tom Doherty are shown during the 2019 Sheriff Showdown, a mounted competition. This is you, Todd. There you are on a horse. So here you are, you party switching buffoon and stooge, on this horse, when there is real crime and violence descending on Monroe County. Rochester, New York is one of the top 10 most violent cities in the state of New York. And here you are on this horse. I mean, was John Plutarski around, and did he discharge your gun for you, and did this horse die right at your feet at Animal House, that is the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? That's what I'd like to know, Todd, baby. You got a red saddle on it, too. And I love horse racing. I've been going to the races since I was 7 years old. My grandmother used to take me to Aqueduct because my grandmother lived right near Aqueduct, Queens. I've been to Aqueduct, Belmont, Saratoga many times for the 10 years I lived in the Albany area. I love horses as much as anybody, but I love to bet on horses, and I've never sat on a horse like you, Todd. So I'm a little confused as I go through this, because you're at the racetrack, and here you are in the race car with the thumbs up, all right? So as I'm like, is this like a horse thing? Is it the racetrack? What exactly is it? So here you are in the race car, which has nothing to do with the duties and responsibilities of the Monroe County Sheriff's. There you are right there, Sheriff Todd Baxter. And then here you are sitting on a horse. You know, that has nothing to do with being an employee or the sheriff of Monroe County. You know, that's for sure. And then here's a quote from you again. I'm not going to leave this alone. I could talk for an hour about this. I'm trying not to laugh at this quote. This is you again, where, again, I'm going to have to think about what is he talking about. Quote, we can't race by the rules of the racetrack. We can't race head-to-head, so there's not a start and finish. So we are racing 8 laps, and we're looking for the closest to the adjusted track speed for that car you're driving. Every car that we're going to be driving will have an adjusted speed. It'll be a little faster than the comfort level, but it's not beyond controllable. I'm not trying to be facetious or ridicule you, which I do. Every car that we're going to be driving will have an adjusted speed. What's that mean, an adjusted speed? Can you only go so fast? Does your car not exceed 70 miles an hour? It is like, for me, I have to pause sometimes and think about, like, what happens to your brain when you have to communicate, and the obstacle that your mind comes across for just trying to really reach simple coherence, because you can't reach simple coherence. I'm just going to thumb through this again, and I'm going to read this last quote here where you say, quote, if you've never done a road track, you've got hills, you've got turns, you have almost 90-degree turns, so trying to get a perfect, consistent score for 3 laps out of the 8 is nearly impossible. So you're pushing the car to speed and it's going to be challenging, but also trying to get lap averages as close to that adjusted speed as possible. I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing it. I'm not perfect, but it is ridiculous how you attempt to communicate and how you reach total incoherence. And Sandra, have you ever heard the phrase, you shook me all night long? Because I'm pretty confident, Sandra, that no man has ever told you shook me all night long. Now you party switching stooges and criminals. This is a financial disclosure that I sent to you, registered mail return receipt. It should have arrived today. Well, I'm demanding a financial disclosure. Sheriff Todd, Baxter, District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, and Alex Renzi waits for me as one person, without a jury, without a witness box for testimony, without a table for a prosecutor, without a table for defendant, as one person by himself in the New York State Supreme Court to declare me guilty. We were also refusing to disclose the names of my prosecutors. This is what I sent you. You got it today. Registered mail return receipt. Card should come back to me. Financial disclosure statement for District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Financial disclosure statement of Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. Financial disclosure statement of District Attorney Sandra Doorley. I hope to attach that. And financial disclosure statement of Judge Alex Renzi. I hope to make a PDF of this and attach this to this email. I don't know if I can do that because I only have so much time at the library. But if it's attached in PDF, it is. If it's not, then I'm going to attach it in the next YouTube I do. But I'm telling you, using this document, you will eventually get it, either now when I attach it to this email or tomorrow when I put it in registered mail return receipt. You will get what I just read you, your financial disclosure. And the way you can avoid this is that it's general language. And I'm not citing any provision in state or federal or even county law. You know exactly what I'm talking about with your financial disclosure, because I've seen these documents as I was a public employee in Albany and Washington, D.C. Where's your financial disclosure? I will cite specifically the language in the law that compels you to send it to me. And you will still refuse. Even when I go right to the exact precise language to obtain your financial disclosure, which this is not, you will still refuse. I'm telling you what I want, what I demand. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you to send me your financial disclosure. And you refuse. This is why you're corrupt. A reason why you're corrupt. Just like Paul C. Metzer, you got this. You signed for this already. This is September 27th. The card came back to me, Paul C. Metzer. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court for James C. Milley Jr. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court for John P. Lomenzo Jr. And a list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court before Paul C. Metzler. Everybody's guilty. How do you possibly explain to the United States Department of Justice, the employees that work for Attorney General Merrick Garland, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Kristen Clark, that every citizen is guilty? That's what I believe. But the confirmation of it is when I get a list of defendants that you're refusing to provide. If the United States Department of Justice, any person of Merrick Garland or his representatives contacted you, Paul C. Metzer, and you, James Milley Jr., demanding or on demand, are you going to tell the United States Department of Justice no? The most powerful bureaucracy in the United States of America that has even more power than the White House and President Joseph R. Biden Jr.? Are you going to tell them no too? And the answer is yes, because you're corrupt. Sheriff of Monroe County, Todd Baxter, is afraid to open his mail from me. He's refused. Again, I didn't just put this in the mail. It says up here, it's a little cut off here, but you can see the barcode. This says, you can see, make it out a little bit, it says certified mail right here. And it's refused because this is when before I received your payroll. I was sending this to you, send me your payroll, and you refused. You're afraid to open your mail. Did you, Kathleen Miller? Did you write refused on here? Did you $0? Michael Rather? Right, refused on here. Did you $101,000? Scott Alberti, right, refused on here. Who was it? Oh, $101,000 William Tadeo. You're the $101,000 cop, not Alberti. So, William, at $101,000, did you write refused? Who was it? William, are you proud of working at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? What do you think about your boss, Todd Baxter? Because employees will talk privately to other employees about the boss in every business, government organization, government bureaucracy in the United States of America, whether they have real feelings or not. And I'll never know the answer to that question because, of course, you won't disclose to me, and I wouldn't ask you that because it really is a breach of someone's professional livelihood to ask about personal conversations like that. But I really would love to know, in moments of lucidity and honesty, if you can reach the truth, William. what you think about your boss, Todd K. Baxter. So, what your boss, Todd K. Baxter, is going to be hearing, William, is hell's bells. So, I have to show you this because of you. This is called the HUD-VASH program. Since I was evicted from my residence, I'm being helped by the employees of the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. As a veteran, Amanda West Bay Root at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs gave me this. I was evicted. They just locked the door and locked me out. My psychopath father, son, landlord, Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano. I've seen the darkness of the human condition and the light of the human condition. This is the light of the human condition, Amanda West Bay Road at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. The darkness of the human condition, my psychopath landlords, who you not arrest when I write the criminal complaint. Locking me out of my residence of 8 years, 26 cents from drug. I own nothing, I have nothing. I've attached a YouTube where I went through a number of the things that I no longer own, which I'm going to show just briefly one thing that I didn't show previously. What I don't own. Every citizen has things in their homes that remind them about the best days. And everything I own, every single thing I own is gone. When I say everything I own is gone, that's true. I'm not exaggerating. I have nothing. And what I don't have is something I used to have on my refrigerator. When I worked in Washington, D.C.'s United States House of Representatives, United States Senate staff, I worked in the House Rayburn building and the Senate Russell building. There's gift shops in both. And I used to go down to the gift shops, and my mother used to always say, you can buy me a coffee mug and whatnot. My mother would have all these coffee mugs, and I would send my mother a coffee mug every couple months, and she would have them in the house when I would go visit. And my mother used to loved it for me to buy these things for her, and I'd buy her shirts and friends and other family members things too in the gift shop. And I would love to go to the gift shop, and I bought a couple things for myself too, so I could always remember it. And when I moved to Penfield and Webster, I lived in Webster first, my ex-girlfriend-in-law, and then we moved to Penfield. And I had a patch that said United States House of Representatives on it. I had a sticker that said United States Senate on it, and that's it right there. And I that's my refrigerator, my former residence, 26 Sandra Farm Drive, where I was evicted without a court order. Requires a court order to evict someone. And just because I didn't have a lease, my psychopath father, son, landlord just locked the door and locked me out, and then took all my things to a storage locker. My sister Barbara Ann didn't continue to pay for it, and that's how I've lost everything. I know I don't have a TV. I don't have my couch. All my books, my 750 books as I'm a book collector, are gone. All my clothes are gone. My racing shoes are gone. My father's dresser he gave me when he was a child in Brooklyn is gone. Every single thing I own is gone because of my psychopath father, son, landlords, Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano. And what you see there is there's a little sticker that says I voted today. And I've always believed that every citizen should vote. I remember when I voted at the Penfield Public Library, I put that on the refrigerator. Well, that's a sticker there. From the United States Senate. Yes, that's a vinyl sticker from the United States Senate, and that's a patch from the United States House of Representatives. And then I ran a 5K at the University of Rochester called the War Mile Warrior Walk, which is kind of confusing to me because it is a race. It's not a walk. But I ran really well. I ran 7th place at 21 minutes, beat guys half my age. It was a terrific day. So those 4 things, voting, I've always embraced voting, and that's why I put it on there, because you should participate in civic life. And hundreds of millions of people do. But I wanted to be reminded to always be a good citizen and vote. And so when I voted that day, I put that on the refrigerator so I could look at it. But the other 3 things really do mean something to me because it is directly related to my life and not just civic participation, which is voting. I don't have that vinyl sticker from the United States Senate where I think about my ex-colleagues. And I have a friend of mine, his name's Greg Walk, and he went to the University of Notre Dame. Greg sat behind me when I was a Senate staffer. And him and I used to talk about all sorts of things, and our lives were really different. It's interesting how in your life, when you meet someone, here we are in the same office, working for Senator Olympia Snow of Maine, and we had so many things in common given our politics, yet he went to the University of Notre Dame, and a lot of things that he told me about his life, including being a graduate of that prestigious university, is different. And when I look at that United States Senate sticker, when I look at it on the refrigerator, I would think about Greg. And the United States House of Representatives sticker too, I think about my colleagues there, and my ex-girlfriend was a House staffer too. I think about her. So when I would look at this refrigerator with those 2 stickers, I think about my ex-girlfriend. Her name was Mindy. I think about my friend Greg, and I think about this terrific race I ran. I don't have this anymore. And I'm not trying to engage in narcissism. I'm talking about the consequences of an illegal eviction and how you will not arrest Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano when I write the criminal complaints about what they've done to me. All they had to do was evict me. I would have packed and left, and I would still have what I'm showing you. I have nothing because of Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano. I go to the Penfield Public Library. I sit down at the computer. In walks Siemens with another fellow psychopath. The sheriff's office. Siemens runs at me, extends his arm. He clotheslines me. I fell backwards. My head hit the ceramic tile. This is because Paul C. Metzer, on a $28,000 salary, wants to do jails one person. Well, she exists without a table for prosecutor, without a table for defense attorney, without a witness box for witness testimony, and without a jury of 12. Siemens knocks me down. My head slams against the ceramic tile. I'm taken down the hallway from the librarians to the Penfield Town Court, this little star chamber. She declares me guilty where there is not a prosecutor from the district attorney's office present. There's no one there. The district attorney's office was not notified. How am I in Penfield Town Court without a prosecutor? This is why you need to redirect defendants away from Penfield Town Court. Well, in my pocket was $61.39. It's the price of violence because of Siemens. I have seen Siemens since then. When I was arrested for double jeopardy on Penfield Road, he was standing right next to the vehicle. You know why he was standing? Because there were at least 15 Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees, including your female employee with the Marine-style haircut and the buzz cut, who saw me attacked at Wegmans. What are you doing employing a psychopath like Siemens, who violently attacks me at the Penfield Public Library and my head slams against ceramic tile, Todd Baxter? The answer is obviously simple. It's because you're a psychopath, Todd K. Baxter. This here is Paul C. Metzer and James C. Mully Jr. telling me to have go sex with myself. I'm demanding over and over and over for 18 plus months a list of defendants in Penfield Town Court. 18 months of defendants is going to have a manila envelope. There's no doubt about that. I believe this court is in session at least twice a week, certainly once a week. It's a little envelope. That's not a list of defendants, Paul C. Metzer. Do you understand the English language, Paul C. Metzer and James C. Mully Jr.? Read The Elements of Style by E.B. White and William Strunk Jr. and attempt to understand English language. I have not opened this yet. There are multiple reasons why I haven't opened it. One is that I'm so disgusted at the nauseating, repulsive existence of $28,000 Paul C. Metzer and $34,000 James C. Mully Jr. I just don't have to deal with it at certain points. Because when I open this, and I'm going to use a word because I believe you should be honest with yourself, and there's no way around it. When I open this, I'm going to be in a rage. And I hate that fact because it's not the way I am. But I'm in a rage about my civil and constitutional rights being violated by one judge in this little room without a prosecutor ever talking. And this is their noncompliance again, where I'm demanding a list of defendants. So, Watkins Glen International Speedway. It's just astounding. This is called the junket, Todd Baxter. Do you know that you want a junket? And your employees where I used to live in Penfield would park their vehicles and then they would be outside my residence. This is when I was relentlessly on YouTube. There was one point where I was on YouTube, I think, 15 times in a 30-day period. I've been on YouTube 84 times. And one time, I'm getting ready to go for my run, and I look out the window because I'm at the sink, and there's your sheriff's office vehicle right outside the window. I took that picture. I'm looking outside, I'm thinking, why is that Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee right outside my residence? What's the point of that? Are your psychopaths, Todd Baxter, just driving over and sitting outside my residence because of what I was doing to you on YouTube? I'll never know. But there he is, or she is. I don't know if that's a male or female. Right outside my residence. The car is parked right outside my window. There are things I will never know about. And here's another one. Here they are again. You will see that this is a different day. You should be able to see that the weather is different because there's foliage, and that this is one of your like minivans or vans parked in the other direction. Here you are again. What are you doing again outside my residence? This is the sick lunatic fringe, where you're showing up outside my residence, parking next to my residence, because I was on YouTube all the time about you, and I am unconventional and eccentric and different on YouTube because I'm ridiculing you, among other things. But here you are again. Why? Why are your vehicles outside my residence? It's because I'm on YouTube. I'll never know. That's only a guess. You know why your vehicles are outside my residence, Todd Baxter. I'm going to send all this to the United States Department of Justice. The photographs I just showed you, everything I'm doing here is for the United States Department of Justice. Just like I will tell the employees of the United States Department of Justice that you bought that camera from me, also called a surveillance device. Can you see it? It's a camera called a surveillance device. When I was calling it a surveillance device, your employees like $0 Michael Radlin, $34,000 Kathleen Miller, and $101,000 William today were calling Lindsay Barron, the Monroe County Office of Mental Health, to come to my residence. That's it. And you're refusing to answer if this is private technology you use to nail me to the wall and concoct a crime for me and walk through a parking lot, or if you bought it and installed it. What's the answer? Regina Harper, my public defender, showed me the images. How do you possibly think you're going to continue to lie about it? You'll find a different way to lie about it because you, Todd Baxter, are a liar, and you employ liars. So I was riding my bike down Penfield Road, and I saw re-elect Sandra Doorley. This is before I was really, truly active like I am now. At least I'm the way I'm trying to be. I got off my bike and took this picture of re-elect Sandra Doorley, and this is not the first time this happened to me, where the nauseousness started to really overcome me. If I would have stayed there a few more minutes and just stared at that sign, I would have thrown up. To look at that re-elect Sandra Doorley. Conviction Integrity Unit, what does this contraption do, you party-switching diva from hell? Can you answer that question? How is your health? Sandra, you're going to be on the highway to hell. Here's your employees at MCC. Again, what a joke. I believe in precision of language. I call you a buffoon, stooge, half-wit. That's some of the language I use. This is after a 5K at MCC. And your employees are at this gym. They were at the race, too. Before this race, about 30 minutes before, where your employees are, I don't know if it's one of these four in this gym, I go to the starting line. I do what I have done since I was 12 years old. I will run a sprint of about 50 yards from the starting line to get the feel of the race. Runners do these things. And I had my backpack. So I put my backpack down about 50 yards in front of the starting line. I walk to the starting line. I turn around. And then I see a Monroe County Sheriff Office employee standing right near me. And I do the sprint. And I ignore this guy. And he stops me while I'm sprinting and asks me what's in my backpack. And I'm thinking, does he know who I am, that I've been in Monroe County Jail? Does he know that I'm on YouTube? I will never know. But it was bizarre how all I did is put my backpack down, doing what I always do before a race, and there's this Monroe County Sheriff Office employee right in front of me asking me about my backpack. So, you, Todd K. Baxter, can we walk through this parking lot without being arrested? Why? Do you have different civil and constitutional rights than me? You, Sandra Doorley, can walk through this parking lot without being arrested. Why is that? Every employee of the sheriff's office can walk through this parking lot without being arrested. Every employee of the district attorney's office can walk through this parking lot without being arrested. Every single person in Penfield of 36,000 can walk through this parking lot without being arrested. Every single person of the 700,000 of Monroe County can walk through this parking lot without being arrested. Every single New York of the 17.9 million can walk through this parking lot without being arrested. Because of $67,000 cop from hell, I'm the only citizen to be arrested for walk through this parking lot. One day I'm returning from Gold's Gym in Fairport. I'm way back here near the trees. 4,000 times I've walked through this parking lot. I hear screaming from behind me. I turn around. At first I didn't know what it was. It sounded like an animal being shot in the jungle. I turn around, Neiraz Shah, a 50-year-old man who lives with his 70-year-old mother, Layla Kumar Shah, is screaming at me. I had this confrontation with him, where at first I'm trying to talk to him because I say, what's the problem? He is screaming over me. And as I walk away from him, he's still screaming. So I give him the official finger of Brooklyn, New York, which I'm giving to you, Todd, you, Sandra. And I say, fuck off. And I walk away because people walk through this parking lot every day because I can see them. And he calls the sheriff's office, and this leads to a warrant for my arrest. Penfield High School students walk through this parking lot. Neiraz Shah sees them. He didn't call Shannon Meyer about Penfield High School students. My excellent friend Adam, who lives next to me, has walked through this parking lot since before I moved to Penfield because that's what he told me. How do you possibly employ $67,000 Shannon Meyer for writing a warrant for my arrest for walking through this parking lot after I spoke to her for 60 minutes on the phone? I had to hold the phone away from my ear because of the way this freak talks. You will not fire $67,000 Shannon Meyer. I'll contact you with 5,000 words only about her, and also Don Benedetto, who charged me with attempted felony assault on my back porch. I've told you about that. How is it a crime, Todd K. Baxter, to walk through this parking lot? The answer is it's not a crime to walk through this parking lot. So, and you, Sandra, I'm sure you're working on your dirty deeds done dirt cheap today. And when I say that to you on September 17th, 2022, you will see this. September 17th, you're going to get it again soon in the next 48 hours with this exact language. I'm only going to read the first two. The internal disciplinary record documentation of employees of the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, reprimand, terminate, discipline, employment of the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office. The internal disciplinary record documentation for employees of the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office, the District Attorney Sandra Doorley, has discipline, reprimand, terminated for employment of the Monmouth County District Attorney's Office. What's the disciplinary process at the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office? And you're refusing to answer. Is your answer you have none? Do you fire individuals and terminate employment? Do you terminate employment for cause? You can fire someone at the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office for any reason. But someone such as Brandon Gadis, who committed a robbery on Ladder Road in Rochester, that's cause. How do you terminate employment at the District Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office? What's the fastest circumstances of terminating employment? You refuse to answer. So, what I just read to you, you have received. I'm not just placing that in the mail. When you send something certified mail, there's the return receipt. And that's it right there. This is not everything because I don't have everything because I was evicted legally. There's 50 more of these, but this is the return receipt right here. This is how many times I've been in contact with you and Alex Redzi. This comes back to me. What I just read to you, you've received it, and I'm hearing silence. Why is that? So, I'm just astonished at you, Todd Baxter. You buffoon, stooge, and a halfwit. What are you doing at Watkins Glen? How is that possibly answered? Now, you being in Watkins Glen, Sheriff Baxter, is setting the example for buffoonery and stoogism. Just like when this picture of these 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees was either on your official website or on a Facebook page where these employees are identified. I don't have the 8.5 by 11. That's why I'm showing you some on my phone. These are your employees. So Todd Baxter, just like I would write a Freedom of Information law to demand if you expended taxpayer dollars to go to Watkins Glen International Speedway, did you expend taxpayer dollars to take this photograph of your 10 public employees underwater in a pool, or is this a private event? If you expended taxpayer dollars to take this, that means you hired a photographer. You rented the pool. I would imagine that someone that owns a pool is just not going to allow you to use it without any coordination and perhaps even a fee. What are the fastest circumstances for this photograph? If it's a private event, tell me it's a private event, but I believe it's not because I've been holding this up on YouTube and sending it to your office for 18 months. This is Animal House. You being at Watkins Glen is Animal House. Your employees underwater in a pool gear in their wetsuits is Animal House. Animal House is Ryan Fisher in Atlanta, Georgia. He's your employee, Ryan Fisher, in his Monroe County Sheriff Office uniform in 2019 outside Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta where the Super Bowl was played with his canine dog Lola. This is 1,000+ miles away. And I have, in the Freedom of Information Law documents for 18 months, demanded the cost of the hotel, the cost of the plane ticket, the cost for the incidentals, and the cost of the care and feeding of his German Shepherd Lola. Because I believe that since he's in his uniform, this is not a private trip. If he's in his uniform, then he's on the time of Monroe County taxpayers in Atlanta, Georgia. A veteran in the United States Army knows, a soldier in the United States Army knows when that soldier leaves a fort, Fort Lewis, Washington, Fort Bliss, Texas, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, when that soldier leaves the post and is off the post in uniform, that soldier's still a soldier. It's not some kind of private time. You are in uniform, off post, and everything, Uniform Code of Military Justice applies to you, still a soldier, even when you're in civilian clothes. Well, here is Monroe County Sheriff Office employee Ryan Fisher in uniform, 1,000 plus miles away in Atlanta, Georgia. Doing what? Is this for a conference? One of these ridiculous, sickening conferences where you cops sit around talking about how difficult it is to be a cop and whining about being a cop, and that's your profession, and you decided on your profession. What's he doing in Atlanta, Georgia? Was he just for the Super Bowl? This again, with his no accountability. I want to be precise about why I say you're corrupt. It's corrupt to send this guy, Ryan Fisher, to Atlanta, Georgia. It's corrupt to refuse to disclose the cost of a plane ticket and a hotel. It's corrupt to refuse if this is a private event. But he's in uniform. When he's in uniform, he's on the time of the county taxpayer in Monroe County, New York. This specifically, exactly, is why you're corrupt. You're doing this with Ryan Fisher. You're sending your employees elsewhere, out of Monroe County. Albany, New York would be a destination for the junket. And that's what it's called. Ryan Fisher is on a junket in Atlanta, Georgia. Employees from all over New York would come to Albany for a junket because they would want to meet with their state legislators, and they would want to press and lobby for their issues. I used to see these individuals all the time, like the American Legion would come, and they would have their issues, and they'd be in their uniforms and their hats, and they would go in what's called the Legislative Office Building, and they would lobby state legislators on their issues. So in Albany, New York, I have seen private groups and police and fraternal organizations come to the Capitol. Wow. There are times where I would think, what are they doing here at the Capitol? Certain groups, and especially law enforcement. When law enforcement beat the Capitol in Albany, I would think, why aren't they back on Long Island or on Western New York or up in the North Country? What are they doing in Albany? They could just send their lobbyists to do this. Was he in Atlanta, Georgia for a conference? Was he in Atlanta, Georgia for a conference for cops? Why was your employee Ryan Fisher in Atlanta? Was it only for the Super Bowl? Was it only to go to the Super Bowl? You're going to have to come up with a lie. If he's there and it's not a conference, you have to come up with the best lie possible for why you sent Monroe County Sheriff Office employee Ryan Fisher to Atlanta, Georgia. So, and this is United Parcel Service. This is on September 26th, where I wrote in the Freedom of Information Law. I sent this on September 26th. So, in the Freedom of Information Law, what you received on September 26th from me, as I go through these Freedom of Information Law, and I'm asking you for overtime too. And there's the photography, and this is the one I sent you on September 26th. Again, I want to be precise about why I say you, Todd K. Baxter, are corrupt. On September 26th, I sent you registered mail return receipt where this card came back to me. You got it. What I'm going to read to you, you have. I have this card. This is what was sent to you. The cost for a hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff employee Ryan Fisher attended Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia on February 3rd, 2019 with his canine dog, Lola. Nothing from you. A junket enrages constituents, taxpayers, and Ryan Fisher is on a junket. You, Todd K. Baxter, when you're at Watkins Glen International Speedway, Sheriff Baxter, at the Sheriff's Showdown, when you had your thumb up in a vehicle, Sheriff Baxter. You see right here, you, Todd K. Baxter, when you're in this race car with your thumb up at Watkins Glen, this is you on a junket. What are you doing as the duly elected sheriff of Monroe County when violent crime is descending on the citizens of Rochester with your thumb up in a race car? Every single inch of you, Todd K. Baxter, is corrupt. You will not arrest Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano. And you will not arrest Nay Raj and Layla Kumar Shah for falsely reporting an incident about me walking through this parking lot. It's not a crime to walk through this parking lot. You will not fire Shannon Meyer for writing a warrant for my arrest, this nauseating, sickening hack, for walking through this parking lot my neighbors walked through. You will not arrest Nay Raj and Layla Kumar Shah for going to your office about me walking through this parking lot, but not anybody else who has my 14th Amendment right to equal protection laws. Your Monroe County Sheriff's Office is a Jonestown. And a Jonestown is defined in different ways. A Jonestown is the absolute and total separation from the truth. And that's what you are at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. And a Jonestown is also a district attorney who refuses to disclose the names of prosecutors in a public proceeding. Now, on September 17th, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, you received this documentation from me, registered mail return receipt, because those cards I showed you, this is what you received. And I don't think this is 2 weeks ago. And you've received this for 18 months. 18 months ago was the first time you received this. The documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with John P. Lamento Jr. in Penfield Court was named the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley. She stood there in total silence. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with Paul C. Metro in Penfield Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? He stood there in total silence. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester before Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Now, I wrote prosecute. I believe I have multiple prosecutors for Alex Renzi because these two females in my last appearance before this hack that's paid $200,000 were standing behind me. What is the name of the prosecutor assigned to every single one of my cases and appearances in Penfield Court and New York State Supreme Court? You nauseating diva. When I say you're above the law, this is specifically why. I think about the language I'm going to use. You, Sandra Doorley, are above the law because I'm using the Freedom of Information law to demand the names of my prosecutors and you're refusing. That's why you're above the law. You, Todd Baxter, refused to disclose to me the cost for your employees underwater in a pool, which I've showed you here on my phone. And when I write the Freedom of Information law with greater specificity about you being in Watkins Glen, you will refuse to disclose if taxpayer dollars were expended for you to be in a race car with your thumb up. This is specifically why you're above the law, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. So, hell's bells are going to toll for you, Todd and Sandra. So, price of violence. I look at this check to remind myself to be relentless. What's Seamus' first name? Seamus violently attacked me. I do not know his name. I do not know the names of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees that have attacked me over and over and over. So, I will conclude by showing you what I was given, an affordable housing list. I have an affordable housing list that was given to me by the saints that are helping me at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs because I was evicted from my residence by my psychopath father-son landlords, Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano. Based on my research, it requires a court order to evict a tenant, even when the tenant does not have a lease. I lived for 5 years in Albany, New York without a lease. I lived for 5 years in Washington, D.C. without a lease. What I didn't have is a psychopath landlord. My understanding is that tenants without a lease have nearly the same protections as tenants with a lease. They just lock the doors and lock me out. I have this affordable housing list because my place of temporary residence, I hope will be coming to an end soon. And I'm being helped. And I go through this every day. And I visit these apartment complexes and I call them because I'm in desperation to not only find a place to live, but to be employed. And my employment prospects are limited here in this dying city of Rochester, New York. So, when I write the criminal complaint about Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano locking the doors and locking me out, where I slept at a house in Wayland Park for 3 weeks, and where they took everything that I owned to a storage locker, including my dress greens from the 101st that I no longer have, you will not arrest Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano because you, Todd K. Baxter, do not know what constitutes a crime. If I'm incorrect and just Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano are arrested, You will not prosecute Giuseppe Spano, Antonino Spano, Sandra Doorley, because you don't know what constitutes a crime. Giuseppe Spano, Antonino Spano will not spend 1 day in jail for the absolute obliteration of my life where I now own nothing. Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. My name is Christopher Chichester. I'm an innocent man.